Hello, FPL managers. Welcome to the FPL Optimized podcast. This is episode number 76. And after a special Q&A session last week, we are back now with a regular episode to prepare for game week 22 and beyond. I am Bas, the casual manager, and my co-host is Sertalp, the data scientist. This is the podcast in which we combine analytics with the good old eye test. Data or grass, or data and grass? That's the question. Sertalp, I hope you're well. And what was going on yesterday with many FPL managers sharing a chart from your FPL optimized website via X? That was a nice surprise, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a nice surprise. I was just sleeping during those hours, but then I woke up to like lots of notifications.
Yeah,
And people were sharing these graphs. I will talk about them in a second, but I think the reason was it's Press FPL, shared the graph, like his team's graph on X, and
right.
people just wanted to check theirs, and they started sharing theirs.
Yeah.
So it kind of like snowballed. Like this is something I regularly check actually for my team. But then it was a nice surprise to see that lots of people were checking it. Um,
Yeah, and even today I saw still some people posting it, and I think also
yeah,
some
yeah.
people that was quite funny. They were saying, "I'm not sure what it means, but everyone else is posting it, so I'm posting it as well."
I saw that too.
So
I
maybe
saw
it's
that.
good if you take a minute to explain what it means.
Yes, let me explain. So, first of all, I should give credit to FPL Review for the projection data. That's the projection data we are using to graph the yellow line you see on these charts. So essentially, what we are trying to plot in these like graphs is essentially how your season is going from both perspective. And the first one is how is your decision making compared to a good set of managers that I call prime, and what's the outcome. Um, so yellow line, as I mentioned, representing the projections. So this group of managers consists of 1,000 most successful FPL managers by historical finishes compiled by
Yeah.
FPL research. So you're kind of racing against them, and their season average will converge around 40,000. That's what happened last season and the season before that. And that's what I'm also expecting what will happen this season. If you're above zero line, it means that your projected finish will be higher than 40k, essentially.
Okay. All right.
So then the yellow line essentially shows how many points difference between you and this group of managers. So if you are positive, it means that your decision making were better in terms of this projection model. So I'm using FPL review, and that's what's showing here, that
Yeah.
my decision making based on that projection model was better than the group average.
Okay.
And in my case, it is like significantly higher because that's what I'm using for my own decision making. But in your case, like you make some decisions, or like most of the time, you're not using any projection model at all. So,
No.
and by model's measurement, your performance is below the average of this group. But again, this is a very strong group, so it is not a big problem if you are below them.
Yeah.
And then the blue line shows what happened actually, and you can easily see when you get a little bit unlucky, like despite
Right.
having good decisions, and sometimes you get really unlucky, you get lucky, and like my graph shows roughly I'm around the expectation, so
Yeah.
I'm slightly below, but it is around. But in your
Yeah.
case, your decision making was a little bit worse than this average, but then you
Hmm.
were really unlucky. Like most of your season is defined by how unlucky you were,
Okay.
for example. So yeah,
Well, that's
I was
good.
telling you, like you are making good decisions, but
Yeah.
you're unlucky.
So I shouldn't blame myself. I'm just unlucky this season. Yeah.
Maybe a little bit, but yes, most of it is luck.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was fun. It was really nice to see all those people tweeting it. So
Yeah.
yeah, thanks everyone, and thanks Pras also for giving some attention
Hmm.
to this chart.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right, cool. So yeah, we will talk a lot about the future game weeks as usual. But before
Hmm.
that, let's quickly review how the long, it
The
was really a long
long.
one, the long game week 21 went for us. So Sertalp, let's take a look at our scores.
Yeah, it was a little bit annoying. I mean, I was
Yeah.
glad that I was on green arrow when the first week finished, so that like while I was waiting, I was on a green
Hmm.
arrow. But when we came to the end of the game week, I finished with a small red arrow.
Okay.
So it was like watching a really long movie, and at the end you are
Yeah.
disappointed, and then you're like, why did I watch this in the first place? So yeah, I got a red arrow. The captaincy choice was not like I feel like Saka was still one of the best captains. Like it was between
Yeah.
Saka and Palmer. We talked about it, so
Yeah.
it was an unlucky outcome on my part.
Yeah.
And yeah, and Ederson got injured.
Oh yeah, indeed.
So yeah, some of the players that I was hoping to make a difference, some of my differentials or like low
Mm-hmm.
owned players, didn't return anything, and then
Yeah.
the some of the popular players that I don't have, they managed to get points. It's not a big, a loss. I mean, I went from 21K to 23K, but
Oh, okay.
what
Yeah.
hurt more is the fact that you beat me again in the head-to-head this week.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see my big smile. Yeah. Even though I'm having a bad season, being unlucky, I still managed to stay quite close here in the head-to-head competition. So that's nice. I try to stay close. Maybe even win it. Let's see. It's now
Yeah.
11-10. So yeah, my score was 66. Probably the main difference between us was the captaincy choice.
Mm-hmm.
We just look at the points total. I captained Palmer, so that was nice. 10 points times two. So I had a game week rank of 1.2 million and a nice green arrow. Even though I did have higher hopes towards the end because the game week was going quite well and I had a few players left. But then Sufal got a red card, so that was a -2.
Yeah.
And then I also had João Pedro not doing much, only 2 points for him. So yeah, the
Yeah.
last,
Yeah.
or let's say the end of the game week wasn't as good as hoped for. But in
Mm-hmm.
general, I cannot complain too much. Yeah, the Palmer captaincy worked. The double up in the Arsenal defense, especially of course with Gabriel, and then also Zinchenko. And my two Spurs players, Poro and Richarlison, also contributing. So that was quite nice.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, 11-10 in the head-to-head competition. It
You're so
could be
happy.
even next week. Let's see.
We'll see.
All right, so we'll switch focus to the upcoming game weeks, and we are entering an important period now with blanks and doubles getting confirmed. So planning will be more important than ever. Sertop, let's start by taking a look at the fixture ticker. And as always, we have it here split by offensive and defensive
Mm-hmm.
ratings.
Yeah. So at the top we have Manchester City. Obviously they have a double in game week 25.
Okay.
And then
Yep.
it's very visible. Like their average for this game for that week is like defense average is 7.1, and then offense point average is 8.9, which is very
Yep.
significant. But they also have good fixtures through the horizon. They are playing against Burnley this game week at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
5.5 defense average, which means that there's a high chance of keeping a clean sheet. Well, it's Manchester City, so you never know. But
Yeah.
and then offense
Yeah.
point average is 6.5.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, in this horizon, they also play against Everton in game week 24, and then Bournemouth in game week 26. So very favorable fixtures.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the second rank, we have Arsenal. They are playing against Nottingham Forest at away. Um, so the ticker shows that it is defensively a good fixture, 4.6 point average for that game.
Mhm.
Um, but again, in this horizon, they also have Burnley in game week 25 and then Sheffield United in game week 27. Both games are favorable. At the third rank, we have Brighton. They
Okay.
have Luton and Luton Town this week, and
Yeah.
then a Crystal Palace game in game week 23, which are favorable defensively. Um,
Okay.
Aston Villa at fourth place, and then we have Newcastle at fifth place. Their fixture this week is not that interesting. They're playing against Aston Villa, away.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
their game week 23 fixture is nice. They are playing against Luton Town at home, and point average for
Yeah.
that game is good: 5.1 defensive and 5.2 offensive. Then we have Liverpool, and the
Mm.
reason why Liverpool is here because game week 26 is a blank for them.
Yeah.
So it drops the average quite significantly. Um, I think there's also a chance of getting a double for them for game week 25, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. So
Yeah,
most
that's
of the
correct.
time models like include that possibility. That's why like in this chart, if you're watching, you can see that their game week 25 offense point average is 6.1, even though there's only Brentford fixture. But that includes the possibility of getting a double that game week. So it's not only that game, but also the
Yeah.
possibility. And then we have Manchester United, seventh place, and then Tottenham, Fulham, and Crystal Palace. They have good fixtures too, but not as favorable as the top six teams.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Well, as I mentioned, it's a busy period coming up, so planning will be important. And I think the thing that indeed complicates it a little bit now is, of course, the blanks. And we really need to pay attention. Game week 26, there will be probably a few teams with blanks, as we're showing here, Liverpool. And the interesting thing is indeed that the week before they might have a double. So
Yeah.
we will be trying to have three Liverpool players for game week 25, but then the week after they blank. So yeah, it will be interesting. Probably some chips will be played in this period,
Yeah.
but I think in general the advice is if you can avoid it, it's better to save it for later. Except for the triple captain, which I think will be a popular option in game week 25, something we discussed last week, right?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, we
Yeah.
will talk about it when the time gets closer. But yeah,
Yeah.
it,
Yeah. Yeah. And some other things. Yeah. Man City, great fixtures. Still a bit difficult, of course, to know which of the key players will be available. Haaland is back in training, but not sure yet when he will start again.
yeah.
I think it's difficult to to have an expectation around that. KDB was back for 30 minutes last week, but will he start? Also, still a doubt. But yeah, it kind of influences your decision making, right? Because I have now Haaland still in my team. I have Foden. I was thinking maybe to get Walker, but then I have three City, so
Oh.
it won't be possible to get KDB if I would
Mhm.
want to. So that's a decision. Like, do I go for Walker or do I want to stay flexible? It's probably something that more people are considering.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and the other thing I wanted to mention, Villa, right? They are fourth here in the fixture ticker, while quite some people are talking about selling Watkins because he blanked for a few game weeks.
Mhm.
But if you look at their fixtures, like they will have Sheffield, Fulham, Nottingham, Luton. They have some really good fixtures coming up. So I think with that in mind, it could be maybe wise to keep Watkins.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the same could be said for Newcastle. They had, they had a tough run, but now they will start again some good fixtures with Luton, Nottingham, Bournemouth. So also there, you could consider to keep your assets like Gordon, for example. Yeah,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Lots we
Good.
can
Good.
say about this chart. Okay, cool. So these are the top teams. Let's now look at the bottom teams.
We have Luton Town, like at the bottom.
Yeah,
They are playing against Brighton this game week, but they have a Newcastle game in game week 23, and they also blank in 26, so not favorable, obviously. Then we have Sheffield United, and then Burnley and Nottingham Forest. So all these three teams, they have like challenging fixtures this game week. Sheffield
yeah,
is playing against Crystal Palace. Offensively, it's a very unfavorable fixture. Burnley against Manchester City. Like their defense average is 1.9, pretty significant. And then Nottingham Forest is playing against Arsenal at home, but still offensively, it's a tough fixture. Then we have Chelsea. They are playing against Liverpool away, and then they also blank in game week 26. So
Yeah.
not very favorable again.
No.
West Ham, and then we have Brentford, Everton, Bournemouth, and Wolves.
Yeah.
So these fixtures are like average in quality. Not the
Yeah.
worst fixtures to play against, like if you have players from these teams, but yeah.
Yeah.
So you need to check the individual projections probably. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Good point. And yeah, a few good teams which now are here visible on the chart, meaning that they have tough fixtures, like Chelsea.
Yeah.
So it could be a consideration maybe to sell your Chelsea assets, also because they have a blank in game week 26. I guess a lot of us have Palmer. For me, he's a keeper because he's doing well. He's cheap, and yeah, it's always possible that they get a penalty.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll keep Palmer. And for the rest, yeah, West Ham was interesting because Kudus will come back from the
Yes.
Afcon. I think his team is out of the cup, so he will come back. But looking at the fixtures, doesn't look too appealing. So probably I won't go there. At some point, I will have him, but probably not yet.
Yeah, I
And
saw that,
Brentford,
and I was hoping that you will buy him finally.
I was thinking about it, but now looking at the pictures, I'm like, maybe I should wait. Yeah, and Brentford, we talked about it last week. The return of Tony, he scored a goal, but
Yes.
looking now at the fixtures, it doesn't look too appealing. So I'll stay away.
Yeah,
But
even though they have a double, I mean, it's the worst
they do
double you
have a
can
double.
imagine. Yeah, it's like
They do have
Liverpool
a double.
and then Manchester City.
Yeah, very tough double. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we look now at the fixture tickers. The next one, which we will look at, is the EV charts. So we will look at it on player level, the ones that increased and dropped in expected value.
Yeah, sure. So one note that not all models are updated yet. Some models update very frequently, almost daily, but some of them update towards deadline. So we are
Hmm.
using only a subset of these models
Yeah.
with a
Okay.
custom weight. And most of these changes are fueled by either injuries or,
Yeah.
expected minute changes based on the cup results.
Yeah.
So at the top we have Robertson of Liverpool. His EV increased around 7.9 over 6 game week horizon,
Okay.
especially quite high this game week 3.5. So he's back. Well, models
Wow.
think he will play.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he's also a player that I am considering to buy to my
Okay.
team.
Hmm.
We have Bowen in the second place of West Ham, 3.5 EV increase for this week. Again, he's also back. And then we have Varane of Manchester United. His EV increase across the horizon, not only this week, but especially game week 23. There's a 1.4 increase. And in the fourth place, we have Romero, whose EV increase around
Hmm.
2.87.
Yeah.
And then Lamptey at fifth place, his EV increase around 4.75 across the horizon. And then we have Kudus,
Hey,
of
there he is.
yeah, who's coming back. His EV increase for this game week at around 2.9. So yeah, significant increase there.
Yeah.
And we have Wilson at seventh place, and then
Okay.
Jota eighth, Alvarez at ninth place, and then
Yeah.
Darwin. So, well, obviously the increase in Liverpool players are due to Salah's injury and also the fact that
Yeah.
Egypt is moving to the next round. So,
Yeah.
yeah, any comments?
Not really. I didn't realize that Robertson is back, so that's
I
definitely
think so.
something to keep an eye on. That could be an interesting option, especially with the fixtures coming up for Liverpool, as we covered. With the potential double in game week 25, Robertson could be an interesting option. Yeah,
Yeah, I was
yeah, and the
thinking
same
about.
for. Oh,
Mhm.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, you go ahead.
No, I just want to say, talking about Liverpool, the same goes for Jota and Darwin, right? They had a good performance against Bournemouth.
Bournemouth, yeah.
So anyone who had them in their team did quite well in the previous game week. So yeah, congratulations. And yeah, definitely still a consideration based on the favorable fixtures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say that I was thinking about Robertson because of the potential transfer of Trippier to like Bayern Munich or maybe another team because it seemed like Newcastle is keen to sell him or maybe like
Yeah,
they're
that was
interested.
a surprise news, right? But now I think the latest was that the Bayern deal is not happening.
Okay, but are they still
So
kind of interested selling
I
him?
don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Okay, cool. So yeah, these are the players that went up in EV. Now let's take a look at the ones that dropped.
we have Johnston of Crystal Palace in the first place. He lost around 12.13 EV, very very
Yeah,
significant, like more than double of the second player in this chart.
yeah.
Uh,
It seems
mainly lost his
he
place, right?
lost his place, right? Because before he was injured, but now he's back. But he was on the bench. So yeah, I don't know if that's final. We see some teams where goalkeepers take turns, right? A bit like what
Mm-hmm.
we see at Brighton. So let's keep an eye on that. But for the moment, it seems that he's on the bench. Yeah.
Yeah. And then in second place we have Salah,
Yeah.
who's injured in African Cup of Nations, and his EV
Yeah.
decreased around 6.06. And it is interesting because his EV dropped for this game week because there was a possibility of him coming back, like if
Okay.
Egypt gets eliminated, but that
Yeah.
chance is gone.
Yeah.
But the real EV loss is seen around game week 24, where he lost 2 EV, suggesting that based on the reports, that his injury might be worse than initially thought.
Right. Yeah.
And game week 24, I think, was the game week that models were kind of expecting him
Him to
to
be
be
back.
back. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then it got a huge impact on that. And then we
Got
have
it.
Archer in the third place. His EV is impacted mainly in game week 24, lost EV around 1. And then we have Mubama at fourth place of West Ham, and then Trippier, whose EV decreased around 3.26.
Okay.
Not so sure. I mean, we talked about the potential transfer, sure, but yeah, his EV decreased around 0.8 for game week 23. Not this game week,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
um, and then we have Kufal at
Yeah.
sixth place. He got a red card, right?
Yeah. He got a
Yes.
red card, so he's suspended. Yeah.
So yeah, his EV drop is only for this game week. That should be
Yeah.
why. And then we have Haaland at seventh place. Well,
Okay.
there are reports that he's back in training with the
Yeah.
first team, but
Yeah.
then there's a big question about whether he will get enough minutes for this game week.
Right.
So his EV dropped naturally.
Yeah.
We have Tsimikas at eighth place, due to the fact that Robertson is back. And then Akanji at ninth place, and finally Sterling at 10th place. But
Okay.
yeah, Sterling is here because of the blank in Game Week 26, not because of
All right.
anything
Yeah.
else.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Not much to add here.
Mm-hmm.
A bit unusual to see Salah here. It's
Yeah, you'd
doesn't
think
happen
so.
often that he's injured. Actually, I can't remember that he was ever injured. He's always playing,
Yeah.
but yeah, he has an issue now. So let's see what the news will be on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So after looking at all of this, let's now look at the optimal team.
Certainly. So, let's say it's optimal wildcard 21, but that's not correct. It's game week wildcard 22. So
Okay,
the
yeah,
team value I'm using is again the same 101.3.
yeah,
Probably average team value increased a little bit, but I keep the same value just to see how the
okay,
team changes. And
yeah,
FPL reviews model is the only model that's fully updated, I think, with the latest news, so I use that one. The optimal team, we have Raya in the goal, and the second goalkeeper is Flacken.
okay,
And
yeah,
then in defense, we have Robertson, Walker,
okay,
Pedro Porro. In midfield, we have Saka, Eze, Foden, Richarlison. And in the
mm-hmm.
forward, we have Watkins, Solanke, and Darwin. And on the bench,
Okay,
we have Garnacho, Richards, and Byrne. So there are some scheduled transfers. For example, Pedro Porro becomes Alexander Arnold, which
ah,
becomes Gabriel towards the end of the horizon. And then Watkins becomes Haaland after 3 game weeks. Um, and then
okay,
Watkins comes back because we sell Darwin for Watkins.
ah,
So it's a little bit interesting. So you sell Watkins, get Haaland, and then the next
yeah,
game week you get Watkins back. I was also checking why model doesn't start with Haaland from the get-go, but obviously, like the projected minutes for the next 3 game weeks for Haaland is not that high. But the model
no,
makes sure that he's back by like for the double game week, and then the triple city for the double is Walker, Foden, Haaland.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Oh, that's interesting because we talked about it earlier about that I was considering to go for Walker, but
Yeah,
that would block me of getting KDB maybe later. But
that's true. Yeah.
maybe it could be a good option still. I think Walker in
Mm-hmm.
defense.
Yeah. I mean, models always rate City defense a little bit higher because of the like
Right.
keeping a clean sheet.
Yeah.
Chance of keeping a clean sheet, I should say.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, there are some interesting captaincy choices here I want to mention. So this game week, for example, model captains Richarlison. Well, his
Yeah. I
EV
saw
is the
that.
highest. Yeah,
I'm surprised. Okay.
same. So and then game week 23, it captains Watkins. Oh, I should also mention that like for little bit interesting, but like we are going for the average case scenario. That's why Richarlison is a little bit higher. But if there is a
Yeah.
player that you think will play like more minutes, like for example, if you think that Haaland will get more minutes this game week, he can easily be ahead of Richarlison. So it's a little bit based on what you think who will play this game week.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we will talk about captains in a second. But we have Watkins captain in game week 23 against Sheffield.
Okay.
And then we have
Yeah.
Darwin captain against Burnley in game week 24. And then in game
Mm-hmm.
week 25, it is Haaland, whose EV is
Ah.
at 11.7, despite having a 73 expected minutes. So it should be higher than 12, when we get closer to that game week. And
Okay.
there's a good chance that he will be an optimal triple captain chip candidate.
Yeah.
And then yeah, Haaland stays as the optimal captain for the rest of the horizon. But yeah, so many interesting names that you usually don't captain, so it is interesting.
Yeah. Definitely. All right. Well, thanks for covering this. And
Sure.
yeah, while you're talking about captaincy, let's look at the other candidates then for game week 22.
So it's a little bit interesting because even though Richarlison is the highest player in FPL Review's model now, most other models have a City player in the first place. For
Ah.
example, like DraftHound has Foden, Fantasy
Yeah.
Fix has Alvarez, Scott has De Bruyne, and then FPL team has Ake. But if you take the
Yeah.
average of all of these projections, an equal weight average, we get
Yeah.
Foden as the best option.
Okay.
He was playing against Burnley, 5.73 his EV average. And then we have Alvarez in the second place with 5.48.
Right.
Um, yeah, so it's interesting. But then we have Saka against Nottingham Forest with 5.47. So there's only 0.01 EV between Alvarez and Saka here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then Watkins 5.12, and then
Okay.
Richarlison 508.
Okay.
It's interesting. I mean, you don't often see this much of a variation between models, but yeah,
No,
as I
indeed.
mentioned, yeah, they will get
So it should
updated.
be a good game week again with people going for different captains, probably. So that's always interesting.
It is. It is.
Yeah. And it's also good because I have four out of the five players. So I should have a good game week, I hope.
If you can captain all of them.
Well, even if I don't, they should be scoring good points. And
Yeah.
that's I think what I can also tell from this chart.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as we already discussed, right? If Haaland starts, then of course I think probably Alvarez will drop an EV.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, we cannot we cannot be sure. We're not Pep.
It's true.
Okay. So do you know already what you will do? Any transfers or who will be your captain?
I will cap. Hmm. It's tough. I mean, Richarlison is higher in Revis model. There's a like 12.5% difference between Richarlison and Saka. So it might be Richarlison.
Okay.
I
Wow.
usually use review or a mix of review and Mikel
Yeah.
Toplam, so I will check closer to that line. There's when it's really this close, I also have a look at the ownership or like what the
Okay.
what
Yeah.
the field is
Right.
saying, but I don't know if
Yeah.
it will dictate my decision.
Okay.
Yeah, Richarlison is the candidate for me, but yeah, I don't
Okay.
have Foden. Alvarez might be a
Ah. Right.
consideration. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And any transfers?
Any transfer. So I'm not sure about the latest status about
Not yet.
Ederson. and also
Yeah.
3PI is also another one. One of the two might go, but yeah, I have two free transfers. I will use one of them,
Oh, okay.
and I am planning to get Haaland in game week 23. So I'm
Okay.
in no rush to get him back this game week
No.
because I'm not sure about his minutes, but next game
Yeah.
week probably.
Makes
Um,
sense. Yeah,
and
and
also,
anyway, I think you're probably waiting till after the weekend to see what happens in all the FA Cup games.
yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
How about you? Who are you, Captain?
So yeah, I currently have it on Foden. So I'd probably keep it there unless it looks likely that Haaland will start. Then maybe I move it to Haaland. But even if he starts, he probably won't play the full match. So Foden could still be the safest option. Yeah, let's
Yeah,
see. And for the rest, yeah, I currently have one transfer, so I'll try to save it. So because I think having two transfers for next week will be good to navigate all the upcoming doubles and blanks. I think it's valuable now to wait to have some extra time, especially with all the FA
sure,
Cup games. It will be good
sure.
to see what happens there, to see some of the results, as that will also give us a better picture of how the upcoming game weeks will look like.
Yeah.
And yeah, my main headache this week will be whether I start Palmer or not, because Chelsea go to Liverpool. So I think that's a tough game. But Palmer is in really good form, and it's always possible that they get a penalty. So I need to choose between Palmer and Gordon. I had
Okay.
Gordon on the bench last week, and then yeah, he again had some points. So it will be a difficult one. I think Newcastle, they're going to Villa, and I think they can be dangerous there with some with a kind of counter attack play, and with the speed of Gordon as well. So I'll probably go for Gordon, bench Palmer,
Yeah,
captain
same.
Foden,
I will
and
bench Palmer probably.
oh, okay, yeah, yeah. Sarah. Okay, cool. But yeah, we still have a few days. Next deadline is on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
let's see what will happen during the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
For today, we covered a lot. We'll still take a look at the mini league. And is there anything else you wanted to cover,
Yeah.
Sertal?
Before that, I think next week we will talk more about the fixtures because then we will know more about doubles and blanks and
Yeah,
whatnot. So we will talk about
yeah.
chip strategy probably. That's why
Okay.
I also wanted to put the game week 23 captaincy options just in case I
Oh,
don't
yeah. Let's
have
do that.
time to
Okay.
cover. For game
Perfect.
week 23, the average, like in the ensemble model, Palmer is leading with 5.47. They are playing
Okay.
against Wolves at home.
Yeah.
And then we have Watkins in the second place with only 0.07 EV between them. So again, it's another like coin flip. And then we
Yeah.
have Gordon in the third place, who's playing against Luton Town at home, and then
Ah,
Isaac
yeah.
in fourth place, and Solanke in fifth place. So like players that you usually don't see in this chart. I mean,
No.
you usually see players like Salah, Haaland, one of the two. But
Yeah.
yeah, it is, well, Watkins and Palmer are usually, high in EV, but now, again, they will be the top captaincy choice for that game week.
Okay.
Um, but
Yeah, it's
yeah,
good that you mentioned it.
for some
Also
models,
good.
obviously, fix things. For example, Haaland will get more minutes so that Haaland is their optimal
Yeah.
captain. But yeah,
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that indeed the difference between the models. Like Fix has Haaland, Draft Hound has Foden. So again, could be an interesting week with people going for different captains.
yep, yep, yep.
Yeah. All right. No, that's a good point because the game week 23 deadline will be quite fast after the game week 22 after it has finished.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good that we covered that now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and the final thing to do is a look at our mini league, and
Sure.
we have now 378 teams in it. So thanks everyone for joining, and the level is really high because even I had a decent game week, but I still lost rank in our mini league. So it's really frustrating. Uh, but yeah, you can still join if you want to. The code is 0JSDLA. And I'm also looking forward to the cup games. That will also be interesting. I took a quick look. It starts in game week 30, so that's something to keep an eye on. The cup
Mm-hmm.
games in our mini league. We have a new leader. It's Berkay Bayraktar with his team TT. He had a game week score of 69 and a total score of 1356. And his OR is 262. And that's probably the team we're looking at here, right, Sertalp?
Yes, that's his team.
Okay. All right. So this is our leader. Well done, Burkai. And our former leader, Doom9, had a bit of a rough game week with only 47 points. He dropped now to the number 2 position,
Hmm.
but he's only 2 points behind the leader. So it's still quite close. And the number 3 is Richard Smith with his team Botman Returns on 1350 points. So that's quite close as well. Well, good luck, everyone. And yeah, sort up. We still need to come up with some prices, right?
Oh yeah. Uh, yeah. Thanks for reminding me. We should probably start working on it.
Yeah, well, we can do it together. We need some FPL optimized swag.
Yes, that would be nice.
Very cool. All right, we'll be working on it. For today, this was it. This was FPL Optimized Podcast, episode number 76. Thanks for listening. Good luck with making your Game Week 22 decisions, and we hope our podcast will help you to achieve a green arrow. Pay attention to the deadlines, as we'll have the FA Cup weekend now first, and then the Game Week 22 deadline is on Tuesday evening. At least that's the evening here in Europe. So that's quite unusual. Don't miss it. And then after that, the next deadline is already on Saturday for Game Week 23. So yeah, as Sertalp mentioned, for next week we'll probably have a bit of a different podcast. We'll look at the fixtures. So yeah, keep an eye on that, and do subscribe to our podcast so you will get notified when the next episode is released. And you can also follow us on X. For Sertalp, it's Sertalp Bilal, and for me, it's at Belfi BB. And you can also find FPL Optimized on YouTube.
And before I say my line, why don't you say us about your jersey? I see a Morocco jersey on you today.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Today, wearing a Morocco jersey. Yeah. I was saying to Sertab, it's always a bit of a last minute thing to think like, okay, which shirt shall I wear? And today, I was looking actually in the closet of in the cupboard of my son. And then I saw the Morocco shirt. I forgot that he had it, but he had it. And I thought with the AFCON Cup, and Morocco is still in it, I thought, it would be fitting to wear it today.
Are you
So,
rooting
yeah,
for them to
go
win?
Morocco. Wow.
Now
I
that you
just
have the
checked it.
jersey?
They're playing against South Africa, so actually, I think
uh,
I'll favor South Africa. Yeah.
okay, that's fair.
Sorry, Morocco.
Okay. And until next time, stay curious and stay analytical. Goodbye.
Goodbye.